here in, December, I have a decent-sized little fleet of privateers. There wasn't a lot I was able to add. If I'm at step 3, French Royal Scots Écossais and the French leaders. Well, the Écossais is over here. Great, I can bring that. Well, if I can get through the East Coast. But, But what it comes down to is, I just can't chance it. I sail out here, the English fleet comes and squishes me. I sail out there, the English fleet's there, it can squish me. The way interception works in this and the slowness of naval movement means I can't really slip by easily. I wanted to sacrifice this warship. My privateers, maybe some of them could escape and some of the forces could get by, but there's nothing that vital that I need to get into Scotland, and then I could still be chased each space that I go. So there's nowhere I can really land that's safe. So I feel like that aspect of the whole naval aspect doesn't feel right to me. Now, the actual naval combat table isn't all that devastating. Is it multi-round combat? If it is, it could be pretty bad. If it's a single round, yeah, I could lose a few privateers. I don't know. There's a fair chance that I'm retreated. But retreated isn't good. I'm not making an easy crossing into a friendly port. It feels a little too hard to slip things by. I kind of feel like I got lucky getting Charles through, to tell you the truth. Scots ended up winning at Falkirk, routing the British force on one roll, basically. Not a lot of casualties there. And then, because it's a rout, oh look, some Hanoverians defect, but about the same amount disappear. There's all these little rules. You have to look up each one to see what it is. Now, the one that I forgot to look up is, I know armaments get dropped when there's a battle, but it's not in the little place, I don't think, where the desertions and everything happen. There's some other place where that's covered, probably in combat. And I don't know where the fuck that is. Somewhere or another, you drop a certain amount of weapons when that happens. And again, now I have to flip through and try to find that. I've probably forgotten it in most, there it is, abandoned arms. Okay, so we abandoned some weapons, which means we can grab weapons here, and we probably abandoned them last time too. 5 or more regiments. No, this is a rout. Okay. So we have some weapons here. Now those don't terribly help us, and I can't get them under the stack because we're not recruiting here, but we can send a force back to carry the weapons and try to gather forces. Or we can just haul them around and forget about it, which is pretty likely. Go a little bit into the route. So if you have 2 escape routes, a route isn't that big a deal. There's no disorder or anything like that. No problem for the army. It's split up. I don't think I can follow them or anything like that. I think the only way that you get to plow through forces is with an overrun. Well, it's an Iko-Yuko game, so the fact that they're split up doesn't mean that I can pick off one set or something. It does create a little bit of a headache. Yeah, 1 unit's 1 movement point, or maybe 2, if there's bad trails, away from the other unit. So gathering them becomes a little bit more difficult, but it's not a big deal. And it certainly wasn't the turn to attack yet. I've gathered everything. Cumberland and George are up here. Yeah, this could go really badly, couldn't it? Additional forces, Wade's force has been dispatched under Hawley or somebody like that. Wade is off on his own. He's no longer an issue in the game. He's just he's a high-ranking 0 leader, which means no different, means nothing to me. Additional forces recruiting throughout Scotland that, give me some potential support, because they're like distracting the Jacobites, but there's no leader up there, so they can't really do anything. So they're probably actually something I could ignore. It's just, it seems easier to clean them out at this point. Neither of these have fortifications, so they're fairly easy to clean up, and then it's just a few turns to recover the forces that I lose hunting them down, which is actually quite significant. But yeah, it looks to me like the Hanoverians do not want to launch an attack. And of course, that puts us in an interesting position with Murray here, which is he could attack. He's got the numerical advantage. He's got the cannons. There's more Hanoverian cannons coming here. And he who wins the battle gets the cannons. The cannons are huge. Yes, you need numbers, but numbers seem pretty easy to come by. Cannons are die roll modifiers, and that can go up to like +6, which can mean you can be on the good side of the chart. It's not necessarily fantastic, but you know, at at higher differential, it can be quite potent, where you're not really losing anything and you're kicking the ass of your opponent. So the cannon advantage is a much bigger thing than any numerical advantage that shows up. And while I have that here, I want to take advantage of it. Now, if I can beat this army, even just once, that'll give me all the cannons, basically. The Hanoverians will not have any cannons. And the game's probably over at that point. On the other hand, if they beat this army, they get all the cannons. So it's kind of like those games where, oh, look, you capture the other guy's stuff. It's not, you know, in the sense that you beat him, you get everything he's got. I'm trying to think what it's like Risk getting the cards. But it's more than that in some ways, because the cards are just, you know, more numbers, right? Which might not be enough to win you the game. But here, if you have a decent sized force and you can collect all the cannons, you probably are in a position where you're not going to lose many battles. Well, you're not going to lose any battles. If you lose any, you lose all your cannons, right? Then my point is disproven. But yeah, that has been kind of the. It seems, to my uninformed knowledge, to be a little too potent, but we'll see. I mean, I'm just looking. Like, let's say I roll a 3 or a 4, a +6. I'm getting like a 9 over here. Well, at bad odds, I'm not really necessarily doing particularly well. In fact, I cannot make my enemy retreat until I get up to the -2 table. On the other hand, if I've got a couple cannon advantage, he will not make me retreat. So I'm at a numerical disadvantage here, though, so the 6-4 is particularly bad, and these 0, you know, are bad. But, you know, if we're talking about a +6 cannon advantage, well, I'm not going to end up below here. So we can start seeing the chart. I might be able to wear my opponent down to the point where I destroy him if the odds are close. If they start getting too far below, I'm going to always be losing as many troops as my enemy, and then the cannons aren't going to help me. So it's kind of hard to read the chart and make a distinguishment how important it is, because a few strength points different could be the issue here. You know, I mean, 2 big forces, 10 points in 80-point forces doesn't seem like a big swing, but 10 points is enough to pretty much ensure that I cannot win the battle. No matter how long it goes, no matter how many cannon I have, I could get lucky and, you know, but I'd lose my 10 points before he loses his. And there's no retreat except by the results on here, and there's no kind of safe retreat. You retreat, you lose your cannons. And now I've handed a bigger force the advantage. So you never want to fight a battle at a significant numerical disadvantage, even if proportionally it's not very big. But if you can get a little bit of an advantage, and I have that right now, it seems well worth it to strike. I mean, if I'm hitting over here, I'm going to probably cause another X. That's going to drop more crap. I won't lose as many troops as I normally do on a victory, all kind of crap like that. something doesn't feel right though, you know, and that's usually the case with lighter combat systems, but there's enough little finicky stuff going on here. It's, you know, with the troops defecting and wandering away and all that, all those different little things feel like, oh, they should be making, you know, this is probably a really, really accurate game if it's got all those pieces, but it's still got like this differential chart, which is hard to justify. You know, like I say, a fort that's, you know, 1/8 smaller, but it has all kind of advantages in terms of artillery leadership, etc. It's kind of hard to believe that they're going to lose the battle, pretty much guaranteed. It's just a matter of a lot of die rolling. The French have a very active turn. These guys are recruiting wherever the hell they show up. They're not on the board yet, but a little attack up here to try to clear things up. We have some cannons. That could be kind of risky. We don't have a whole lot of strength points there, but we outnumber the enemy, and we got at least a +1, +2 because of Highland Charge. Should be good. Charles has moved into Edinburgh. He's going to declare himself king next turn. Murray is going to try to hit George. Break up that army a little bit more. Casualties are what I'm hoping for. I think I'll have a numerical advantage. I have a huge artillery advantage. I don't know if it's lowland or not. I probably don't have enough troops to do a Highland Charge, but I should end up around +5, +6. And that'll put some threat, but the danger, of course, is once what's his name? The Culloden guy. He's in here somewhere, isn't he? Oh, where he got to? Cumberland. Oh, is he on the boats? I don't know. Cumberland should be here somewhere. Oh, no, he's in that stack. Oh, we're hitting a bigger stack than we thought. Well, this could go badly. But yeah, if we can defeat the big Hanoverian army, this one's nowhere near as big. It's just carrying cannons up, which are pretty necessary. We're also taking a chance here on these ships. We outnumber them, and if we can get rid of them, there aren't a whole hell of a lot of combat ships, although there is 8 points here, which outnumbers us up there. Once we declare king, we'll have the French Navy, so if things work out okay, we might be able to win control of the sea. If another alternative is we might be able to, you know, slip through and get to the Irish Sea anyway. We hope. We hope we're not losing what we're sending. It's not huge, but there are a couple of armaments in there to speed up recruitment. The dangers is anytime you move counters, oops, you might drop some, and now you have no idea how much strength they had. Blocks, at least you don't usually have huge stacks of them that you're trying to track. Horrible, horrible idea. I had this problem with the line of battle stuff that used this kind of numerical system with rotating counter numbers. It's just too easy to, you know, again, yeah, you got lots of realism baked in, maybe, in that game. Well, have you counted my dexterity into that realism? Because it's got to factor in now. You know, just like eyesight might factor in if things aren't readable. You can't judge a system, you know, completely void or devoid of the mechanical and, you know, other requirements that it lays on the players. It's not in a vacuum. If the players are liable to make mistakes because of some of the design decisions you made, you've just made the game no longer play the way you expected it to anymore. Scots are in some trouble here. They've only got 34 strength points to 51. Again, I didn't count on Cumberland. The extra strength points Charles had would have probably made this an even battle. I couldn't bring him in though, but I could have delayed. Of course, delaying, another stack comes in. More and more troops keep coming. This could swing the game. Something that was looking like the Scots had a shot. Okay, so we're looking at a difference of more than 12. So we're going to be on the -12 table. Our modifiers, Cumberland's pretty good, and I can put George out of the combat. So that's +1, +2, +3, +4, +5. That doesn't count. +5, but it's mountain, +4. I'm not going to get to do a Highland charge, too few of them. But I do have a problem with too many crappy English, I bet. I didn't count them. Let's see. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 times 4, 40, 56, yeah. Okay, so that gets me to +5. But this is where the table's bad, right? The attacker will not be able to retreat with all these pluses easily. And he's going to wear down quicker. All right, +5. Okay, 8, the attacker takes 2 losses. Great. We'll kill 2 of these. Get rid of this crap. And 1, 2, 3. This could well be over very shortly. We're still at -12. I should be marking these losses just in case. I don't think there's any way the Hanoverians can fall below the -12 mark. Now, the Hanoverians could attack. Yeah, they don't want to. So -12 at +5 still. 6. Okay, we got lucky. It's a rout. But there goes our advantage. Now we're screwed. Now all the cannons are in the Hanoverian side, one way or another. There's enough in this force to keep chasing things. There's a cannon here. Nothing there. There's some more artillery coming in later. But yeah, we're pretty much done for, I think. And the rout means we got to split our force. We took a rout when we're attacking, which means our enemy can hit one of our partial forces and pretty much hurt it pretty badly. Anything else happen from the rout? I can't think of anything. Some guns are dropped. Like they need them. Should have known. Poochie board, huge stack, boom! These little boxes ain't gonna help. They're just not big enough to hold enough forces, you know. They're about the same size as the on-map boxes. The only thing they help is maybe they don't have as much pooch. Yep, we just randomized the Hanoverian army there. We have no idea what it's gonna end up as. I mean, I can guess, but fuck it, right? Took no losses. It should be 51 strength points. I don't want to count that. Probably have enough force that I could have hit 2 of these 3 things without any real problem. Except, what if one of them retreats early in the battle? What if they both retreat? Now I'm split into 2 stacks. Maybe the Scots can gather together and smack me. Nah, it makes a lot more sense. Let's just go for Chuck. And, you know, maybe we kill him or something. That puts us in much better shape. If not, we wipe out some of his troops. That's good enough, you know. And keep our forces concentrated. Yeah, we have another big concentration of forces coming up here. As to the navies, most of the fleet's in here, which means even after declaring the king, it's probably not safe to move the French out here. It's possible that forces out here, the Brits are unwilling to keep transferring a lot of troops, although of course their transports can run pretty safely because they need to keep the Royal Navy available to smack the French. Now, I could send the entire French fleet out, hope that I get away, hope that I get lucky, whatever, hope that I disrupt whatever the English are up to by moving there. But it's fairly easy for the Hanoverian fleet to mess with the French fleet. Of course, once the French land in England proper, I know the Dutch army disappears, which is of some value. I don't know about the Dutch fleet. So it might be worth taking the chance once the king's declared, if that allows the French to go across. Don't know. Lots of little special rules, right? That will move us up to 4. Nope, just the French fleets. So until we get up to 6, where actual French regiments are allowed to be on the mainland, we're not going to see the Dutch go away. I've been doing these forts as strength points, which would make sense. Looks like it's actually regiments. I could hide most of Charles' force, not all of it, in Edinburgh. Of course, there is probably siege artillery here. Maybe not. No, there probably isn't. Yeah, there's a siege artillery there, which gives me an extra round. I've got a engineering leader. I can do like 3 rounds of combat if that happens. So I'm going to fight it out in the open, because I'd be basically giving up the units that I leave outside, and the whole army is probably not big enough right now to face things. I need to keep it mobile and fall back, gather up what I can. The problem with doing that, of course, is these guys come up. What can I do? You know? And yeah, Charles did not get to declare king because he wasn't able to stay there for a full turn. Harsh. Okay. Let's see what we got. Our strength is 84 to 34, so that's a 12-point difference. We have +1 for Cumberland, +2, +3, +4, +5. That's it. So we're on the big table at +5. Chances are we rout the Jacobites, and they get to get away. 10. Yep. 08X. This goes away. They're going to take some pretty heavy hits, but at least they're out of there. As for next turn, I got to count up how many Jacobites there are. If I've got a lot, which I don't think I do, like my combined army before was in the 30s range. I've had another 30. I got like 20 something here. So I'm probably looking at 60 something, which means I'm below, significantly below. Enough below that even if I had cannons, I wouldn't want to go in. So I will probably be running away and heading for the hills and islands, hoping the French can do something to save me. And it just gets worse. You know, there's tons and tons of troops coming over. You've got to win. You've got to wipe out these big armies, and it's tough to do. You pretty much can't. There's nothing that you can do that kind of even knocks them out for a significant amount of time, where they have to run away, except that, oh yeah, I'm bigger than you, so you do have to run away. The reinforcements for the French this turn included gold, which fine. There's not any gold, but that doesn't really matter. But it also included artillery, and there is, as far as I know, no way that artillery can disappear from the game, but there are not enough pieces to put them all down on the board. I guess artillery could get sunk at sea, you know, but yeah, it's pretty hard for artillery to get lost. I mean, if I had done a failed shipping, I would get some replacement. But that's about the end of it. Once it's operating in Britain, it's not going to be a problem. Now I got to figure out what to do with them damn Jacobites that are dissolving. English army moves on Stirling. Another force a little bit to the west of Edinburgh. Didn't want to force march. It just doesn't seem worth it. I think I've got the numbers to take on the main Scottish force, especially with the cannon, etc. Fleet, I'm able to keep most of my warships out here, and I'm just using the transports to bring the rest of the stuff out from the Dutch ports. Let me slap down these guys who are recovering, and then we'll get to the battle. And this shouldn't be too exciting. 4 to 3 odds, 81 to 62, and that means we're at the top of the chart. This is an attack here at Stirling. The difficulty in deciding who to take losses on is going to be a pain in the ass whenever the Scots are on defensive. It's particularly bad, and that's where I probably got myself in a problem early in the game, was taking losses when they couldn't afford it. Although there may be some skewing against them anyway. It seems pretty tough for them. Getting any reinforcements coming in off the continent is tough. And there's just so many enemy forces available. Not that I'm terribly upset with that. A little bit better play, maybe I could have succeeded in sort of the historical result. This may be a tough game for the Scots to win, and that's okay. So, first check. Let's see if Charlie wants to take command. He does not. That helps quite a bit. Which means we'll have a -1 because Murray versus Cumberland. And I still got George with me, just trying to lose the game quickly. I don't think it can happen. So it was -1, -2 minutes. 0, 1, 2, 3, and that should be it. I got enough gold to pay off any needs for if there's an attrition. Because now I'm getting up into the north. It's tough for the English up there. I don't remember what we were at. I think we're at +3. It's normal, no river, nothing exciting. This should be enough to win a battle. Now, winning a battle isn't necessarily a big deal, though. The Scots just fall back. And so a 7, yeah, that's going to cause, so 4 to 6. And then with a rout, it creates more guns, but we don't need guns. I mean, we may need guns, but are we really going to send troops back, say, to the Dutch ports with guns to build up forces? Or, I don't know where else. There's some troops down here who are building up as well. Some garbage. I probably have a quarter garbage, though, still. Then again, I have 612 cav points, and they only have 7. So that's a +1 and a -1 for the garbage, which is 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. It's not quite a quarter, so let's pump it up another point. So it's a 2-6x instead. Active, dividing up the forces for the route, and then they have to be recombined. So whatever organization I have in the stack, I've got to keep refiddling with that to get it so that, I can sort the pieces reasonably well. Anyway, whatever. It'll get to a place where I've got forces cornered. They have, not enough retreat routes or something, and half the force is going to be destroyed. And we're going to start seeing, conclusive battles. I mean, this was a significant loss for the Jacobites, but alternatively, maybe, some kind of major cock up by the Hanoverians will lose the game at this point. But it looks like a foregone conclusion to me. It really does. I am not going to be able to bring forces from here, and there isn't that much. There isn't enough to make up the difference. Although we've got a big additional force here. 7, 8, 9, 10, and 8. 18, 21 more strength points here. Now that 21 strength points is enough to make this a close fight. So maybe it's time. Maybe I just throw everything in, and I hope that I have enough of a plus, get a lucky die roll, and get those guns back, and then things will get kind of interesting. That's really about the best I can hope for at this point, I think. Unfortunately, these guys would have to force march. These guys could make it in. Stuff in the north, not so much. But yeah, I might be able to, the 21 extra points. Of course, I lost more. I lost what, this one, I lost 4 strength points. So now, relatively. So 4, that would be 1779. That's not going to put me in the positive realm yet. On the other hand, there's this huge stack, there's quite the possibility that those will gather together. Let me think about my central northeast. How dangerous is this? Do I need to worry? Half the time I forget it. So it's a 1, Hanoverian is 0. I could lose a step. I'll roll on that. Winter doesn't matter. Look, I do. I lose 1 point off of somebody there. Now, what about this other one here? The lowlands, I'm fine there. The Jacobites are going to roll the dice here. They should have greater numbers if, it's been a day since I played, but if that 81 is the upper limit of what the Hanoverians have, I should be pretty damn close to the plus 12 table. I'm going to have big minuses, but they may not be that terrible. I do have a bonus for this. I get the Highland Charge, I hope. I don't know. I didn't check to see if that's there. But I think this is the best option I have and best opportunity to try to turn things around again. Apparently miscounted, or else tilted counters, but I don't think that's the case. If anything, I tilted them in favor of the Jacobites. I'm coming out to 84 to 82. That's not good. Modifiers. I'm +1. Murray versus Cumberland. Charles isn't around. Wouldn't want him to interfere with this. +2 if I've got a Highland Charge. Geez, I don't know if I do. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 48. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. 69. 70, 71. Looks like 74. Wow. That would say there's only 10 here, and that can't be right. So I must have miscounted, which sounds more reasonable. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 24. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know. Let me count again. I must have my numbers wrong. It keeps coming up different each time. I can't multiply. Yeah. So 6 times 4 is only 24, not 48. And another 21 is 49. And 5 is 54. That's more than half. So I'm now up to +2 total. But I'm at +4 for the Brits, so that's -2. Yeah, it's over. There aren't enough recruits for this to be an issue. So we're at -2. There was something else that might come into play here. I can't remember. No, I did the Highland Charge, right? -2. What else could possibly come into play here? Stirling is not in a mountain. We didn't have to cross the river. I think I'm at -2. I thought there was another modifier in there. I can't remember it. But anyway, we're at +2 at -2, which is not good. But we roll high, 4. So we only lose 2 and they lose 4. The battle will continue, but the Brits can grab the Hanoverians can grab the advantage here and take away that Highland Charge. And I think they probably want to do that, but I'll study the 2 charts to make sure. The other point was it's the Cav, which means instead of 2-4, it's only 2-2. Which I could put this as 82 to 80 now. We'll take a look at what that's going to be. But it's going to be on the plus or -2 table. And I don't know what my pluses are, so it's kind of tough. So on the -2, I'll be at, God, I don't know, -1. I'll be at +3 on the -2, which puts me from 4 with possible leader loss checks to 9, which are not bad. as opposed to +2 at, God, I don't remember now, at -3? No, -2, which would range us from 1 to 4. -3 because of the cav. We forgot the cav there, though. That's another plus. I don't fucking know, you know? Shit. So, yeah, -2 at +4. -2 at +4. That'll range us from 5 up to 10. Now, what we don't want is that 10 with the 6-2R. That's not a good result for us. It lets the Jacobites get away, which, fine, whatever. But it also does a lot of damage to the Hanoverians. The other side of it would be some other numbers. God, I can't remember. I'll be +2 at -3 because the Cav bonus and the Highlands cancel out. +2 at -3 would range us from 1 to 3, which doesn't look bad at all to us. Nobody gets to retreat, and we get to keep the fight going. Sounds good. Yeah. Now he could not do the Highland charge, and then he's at -4, I think. But anyway, -3, that gets us a 2-0. Those are going to be off Highlanders. And we're just going to probably wear out the entirety of the Jacobite force by forcing this. So that was 2 more. So now no matter what, we're on the 0 table, and the question is whether or not we want to be attacking at +4, which could cause retreats, but defending at our attack is at +4. The defense would be at -3, which will range very heavily on this, allowing a retreat. We don't like giving up numbers particularly, but I think it's better off to try to prevent a retreat here, I guess. I don't know. So I'm going to let them attack. They're at +4. They're going to want that +4 because it gives them the chance to get away, I guess. So they'll do the Highland charge again. It's a 6, 2 to 4. So now we're at 78 to 76, and we're back at the 2-point swing. And I'll keep calculating it out and playing it out. I don't think it's terribly interesting to watch these kind of decisions. Hanoverians managed to drive the Jacobites back. I don't remember if this is the final total, 68-72. I think there's more hits after that that I haven't taken into account. Which of course screws with, you know, your numbering, but I don't know. It was a route, so it had to be up here. It was probably a 9. So that's probably 2 points more difference. That splits the Jacobite forces, not small enough to fit in the fortress even with the new understanding of the rules, which makes no fucking sense, of course. You know, a fortress can hold so many people, not so many formations, you know. So battered, tiny little formations take up just the same space as a big 4-point formation. Whatever, you know. And this will give me an opportunity, now they're both mountain spaces, to beat up on one of the Jacobite spaces. And I probably don't want to beat up on the +3 guy as much as I want to beat up on the other. However, I'm in range to hit both forces, so if this force is big enough, or some proportion, I may be able to hit them both effectively. I have a fair number of cannons, so I think that's likely. Let's take a look at the attrition situation. We're up here, Inner Hebrides, that's safe. These guys are not, so there's no conflict there that'll require die roll modifiers or anything. So now we move to the Brit side of this turn, and oh, what the fuck these are. I guess they're this turn's reinforcements. Okay. I decided to take a risky maneuver here and attack both, but of course then I randomized the Hanoverian force strength by knocking the stack over again. Oops. Could end up totally different than I expect. Dunno. Battle here at Loch Lomond. What we got to worry about here? Well, we counted the strength. It's 33 to 40, which means the Hanoverians are attacking at +7. Well, there's no +7, but there's a +6. Good enough. Leadership is equal. I got crap. That gives me a -1. But I got +2 from artillery, so I'm up to +1. And now here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Wow, I have a lot of cav. I didn't bring 15, which is a shame. So I'm up to +3 on the +6 table, which is pretty good. I'll probably end up routing this force too. 5. Okay, it's a 6-6 with a leader loss check. Leader loss, I don't remember how those are done. They happen fairly seldom. This may be the first actual leader loss check I've had. No, I had one more because it was actually safer, I think, to lose the leader than otherwise. I like to take the leader loss than to be left alone, which I find kind of weird. Wonder where it is. Be in the combat. But it's going to not tell me. Leader loss. 12-6. Well, it does at least give me this. 1 or 2, it's dead. 3 or 4, it's wounded. Okay, well, I'm probably not destroyed, so I'll take the crappy leader. 4, he's wounded. He'll be back in 1 turn. Very random system there. Okay, and what was my losses? 6-6. Turns out my Hanoverians divided poorly. I had only 40 here. I thought I had about equal in each, or tried to balance it out. So now I've got 50 to 33. That puts me on above the +12, which I totally didn't need. And isn't necessarily good, because with bonuses I'm going to cause a rout. A rout's not a bad thing, but it does, it sure shouldn't be, right? It does cause some difficulties. Now a rout here I think might have caused the destruction of half the routing force. From here, there's places for it to go to, and then of course the Scots can gather and hit half of the Hanoverian army now. Looking at the numbers we're looking at, half the Hanoverian army, if it's this half, which is where George is, that might actually not be very bad. So anyway, let's look at our situation. We have 7 of these. That's nowhere near a quarter, so there's no penalty there. So we're at -1 for leadership, -1 for Highland, for the hill. Even on Cav, essentially. So we're at +1, but on the big table. That gets me a 4. That's a 6-4R. Not at all a good result. +3 on the attrition table. I'm going to blow one of my gold just to not, lose potentially a couple of steps. And that sounds pretty good to me. We have the Jacobites striking now against George. I should have a numerical advantage. I don't know if it's going to be enough. Should be mainly Highlanders. It's not going to cancel out the bonuses. Yeah, although I do have my best leader hitting, not their best, and we'll see. I don't know if I forgot to take my damages here, because I'm back up to 26, or if something else possibly could have happened. I think I forgot to take my damages. I thought I had taken them, though. So I can't think of another way that those strength points got there. So we're going to drop this down to 20. But that gets us the plus 12 easily. My nets, though, I had it calculated before. Plus 2 for leadership, canceled out by the guns. Highland charge, canceled out by the mountains. A -1 for cav differential. This is not a particularly good chart for the attacker. I get a 2. That's going to be 6 and 6, but there's a potential for a leader loss check here. Well, there's a leader loss check. It's a 2, he's dead. And we'll just keep going. He was successful, and I don't know how much that really means, but now I've got the question of whether I want to hit the entirety of the Jacobite force, you know, or if I want to go up and try to stomp some of these little guys. Now that's a game of whack-a-mole, and you know, it's fine to go garrison Scotland or something like that if there's no main army around, but I don't think I can safely go hunting those things down and trading off losses in the hopes of just booting them down a few more turns. It just doesn't make sense. And Charles isn't that important. He really isn't, because as long as James and Henry, who's kicking around down here, are still around, someone can claim the throne of Scotland. Well, okay, here's the problem. Charles is actually vital, because there's no one else who can claim the crown. Theoretically, I guess if Charles was dead, Henry could. But if Charles is captured or something, it doesn't make much sense. And, you know, obviously, James would be presumably able to reclaim it, but he can't land until the French intervention gets quite high. And what that means is, well, Charles is going to have to go around declaring himself king in places. So actually, Prince Charles taking him out probably ends the game. Although it is possible that the Jacobites could win fights, Henry could make it down to London and be there and win the game. But otherwise, you kind of have to trigger the French intervention levels up high enough. And that can't be done without Charles, as far as I can tell. And we roll back in here to Loch Lomond. And one of the stated principles of the game was that, hey, these decisive battles would be very rare because, you know, or at least these big battles would be very rare because, you know, they're just too high a stakes or something. It doesn't feel that way to me at all. It feels like we're having one a turn, and even if you gather your forces, hey, you gotta take your shot when you have the advantage. One side or the other is going to have the advantage. There's nothing to really slow the units down. There's no demoralization or anything like in the American Civil War that prevents one side from attacking. You're able to move all your pieces. So if you got your force concentrated in an area and the enemy's got their force concentrated in the same general area, you're going to see a lot of battles. Like every month, you're going to see several battles. You know, you probably want to see fully concentrated forces, though. The Hanoverians splitting their force was not a good idea. Of course, they got hordes still coming up here. George has run back here to just be a little safer. Okay, so the Hanoverians now have the plus 12 bonus. They have like 52 strength points to 38. -1 for the leadership. So we still got Cumberland in place. But +1 for artillery. 2, 4, 6, 7, 1 cav here. I think there's 2 cav here. I can't count, right? I mean, counting is really a problem for me, and doing it on camera is very hard. So I've got +1 for -1 for leadership. Okay. Evens it out for the artillery. +1 for cavalry. It's not a Highland charge here, but it evens out for that. So it looks to me like we're at the plus 12 table. Now the Highlanders can charge back next turn, and I kind of screwed up and took losses on Lowlanders last time. I'm not going to worry too much about it. Okay, so we get a crappy 1. That's a 6-4. The attacker's going to take more, and now the Highlanders can counter with their charge and get a little bit more advantage if they want. They're still going to be at the minus 12, though. And here we made a mistake in terms of, hey, what table we rolled on given the die roll. So we're going to get a 4R0, which means we take 4 hits, a retreat. The retreat's not too terrible. The other side of it, it would have been a 6-4R. So, I mean, attacking can be very bad. If we compare 6-6 versus 4X, 6-4 versus 6X0, of course we couldn't get this result here. So actually we got to kind of diagonal these. So this would be a 3 against, or a 4 against a 3. So it would be a 6-2R, much, much better, right? Here 2X0 would be a 6-6. Hard to tell which is better there. 4X0, 6-4, definitely the 6-4 is better for us. And higher up, we probably should have let the Hanoverians keep attacking, but you know, I get swayed by, oh, I get a die roll bonus, that's important. And now I lose my cannons, which was pretty much the problem. You know, you capture the cannons, well, it didn't really matter too much that the Hanoverians lost them because they still had enough and enough numerical superiority that they were probably going to win the battle. It wasn't a guarantee, I don't think. Plus 12 is hard to beat, though. There's no chance of an attack or retreat. Could we have possibly? No, we couldn't have forced the defender to retreat. So the thing we probably would have wanted to do is try to let him run up the score on his own troops. Anyway, 4R0. Jacobites move about a bit, pushing further north. Some new recruits showing up. They're basically speed bumps. You can't just run through them. And it's going to be hard to shift around. And the danger, of course, is if they can be gathered up, it's another, it's another sizable Jacobite force. Of course, the way the game works, the fights generally last a couple of rounds, do a little bit of damage, and aren't really very conclusive. So we may well be playing this whole damn thing out with a fair-sized Jacobite force bumping around in Scotland, unable to ever win, and the Hanoverians unable to ever completely defeat them, which isn't completely unreasonable, but it doesn't sound like any fun at all. I've moved some units back from the Channel ports out to Brittany because this is my best route to get anything out, but I don't have much I can get out. I have a privateer, I can send some French, and, you know, a cannon and detachment, so I can send that. I can't send my privateers sneaking around along the coast or anything like that. They've got to come out to the Channel. If they do that, boom, they're dead. You know, most likely. No guarantee, but they'll probably retreat, which throws them back there. I think this is over, but I can't be sure. You know, there's a whole bunch of Jacobite crap ready to come back. And unless I garrison everything, it'll just show up. Beginning to realize the scope of the headache that this is going to become. I keep my whole force together. I blockade Scotland. The Scots can never make it back, right? I don't know. You know, I mean, I just don't know. I push up here. My movement is so much slower. It's basically one box at a time unless I want to force march. The Jacobites can run away. No problem there. I try to squish everything, and I'm getting too small a force. It just doesn't sound like a fun system to cover this kind of guerrilla warfare with. I mean, it's really what it's become, is that kind of guerrilla warfare. But I'm not absolutely certain that the Jacobites can't launch an attack. You know, for example, if I keep if I expand anywhere beyond here, the Jacobites can move 2-4. I mean, I ran out of here and got rid of the fortress there. Okay. If I move into here, the Jacobites can reach it. If I move the whole force there, all kind of Jacobites are going to show up here next turn. Will they be of sufficient strength? No, not initially. And there's a lot of Hanoverians coming in. I just feel like this system is going to be really, really painful to try to play out that kind of game of whack-a-mole going on. There's going to be crap showing up down here that I can eliminate without too much trouble, as long as I keep my main force up, you know, blockading this portion here. But if I try to push into the highlands, I think I'm just screwed. Is that unreasonable? No, probably not historically. What we're not seeing is that sort of decisive battle where one side or the other gains the capability to really push their way forward tremendously. The only time we've seen Jacobite victories are when the Hanoverian troops are split up too much. The only time, I mean, we've seen Hanoverian victories is when the Jacobites are able to be caught, you know, which it has been most of the time because they were close enough in strength. But at this point, I don't know if I can venture into the highlands to go chasing them down. I mean, there's this eventual potentiality of, you know, cornering them somewhere. But let's say I move here or force march to here. Well, I can just run back over here. They're far away. Maybe I can force march and hit them. There'll be one of these major battles. They'll get away. You know, there's not going to be any conclusion to this except for running through all these turns. And it just sounds miserable to me. So I think I'm going to call this here, clean it up, and give my review of it. But to me, this game fails on all counts pretty much. I don't know. We'll get to it. All right, let's set this up.